Good evening. Let's call to order the Board of Library Trustees meeting of June 2nd, 2025 at 7 p.m. The city does not tolerate disruptive behavior in our meetings. Sunnyvale prides itself on the rich diversity of our residents. We are committed to creating a culture of belonging where members of our diverse community feel included, safe, and respected. This board meeting is considered a limited public forum, which means the board can regulate the time, place, and manner of speech. Speaker comments must be limited to the agenda item being considered by the board for consent calendar or public hearing items. Speaker comments during oral communications must be limited to matters within the board's authority, generally referred to as within the board's subject matter jurisdiction. If a speaker's comments are not related to an agenda item, the presiding officer will rule the speaker out of order. A speaker will not be ruled out of order because of a disagreement with the content of their speech. Location and online meeting details are available on the Board of Library Trustees agenda. Scan the on-screen QR code or click the language access and translation link on the meeting agenda to read and listen along in more than 50 different languages. Use the Show Captions button to view captions on Zoom. Comments on matters not on the agenda or presentation items must be submitted prior to the time I call the item for oral communications. Comments on agenda items must be submitted prior to the time I close the public hearing on the agenda item. Speakers are requested to keep their comments to the time period set for public comments for the agenda item, which will be strictly enforced. Guidelines are posted on the city's website and on the Board of Library Trustees meeting agenda. Please join me in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Recording officer, may we please have the roll call?
Yes. Chair Wong?
Here.
Vice Chair Gitakonda?
Here.
Board Member Hugh?
Here.
Board Member Hahn?
Here.
Board Member Liu?
Here.
We have 5 board members present.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the first item, which is 25-0654, recognition of service. Is there a staff presentation? I'd like a certificate.
The mayor will be doing a presentation.
Not much of a presentation, but thank you for having me here. And of course, I've appreciated the last 6 months. This is the fun thing about being on council is every 6 months you get to spend some time with the different boards and commissions. And over the last 6 months, I've been very impressed with our chair. And I'm here to thank her for over 6 years of service on this commission. For me, this is the fun thing about giving back and getting to know the makeup of the different boards and commission members. So I just want to first thank all of you. The time that you spend here every month, your passion, your enthusiasm really comes through, and especially from the chair. It's the smile, it's everything else that she brings to this that will be really missed. And for me, it's been fun to be here for the last 6 months, but to have and Charlene, I just want to say, you've had a real impact, and to see, from a city standpoint, the branch library almost being done, but kind of shepherding that through that design through the process, giving feedback and lots of community outreach and all that. You and the other commissioners should just be really thanked, for all that time. And I just want to thank you specifically. It's like you have brought a lot of this, a lot of your personality and kind of your enthusiasm to being chair, and it's been fun to attend these meetings, and definitely you'll be missed. But I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, it's like to all of you, but especially you, Charlene. We have a great city, and our library is fantastic, and soon our branch library will be fantastic too. But we couldn't do our operation. We couldn't do what we do from a city standpoint without our board and commission members. And so thanks to all of you, but especially thank you to Charlene for 6 years of hard work, or more than 6 years of hard work on this, the Board of Library Trustees. It really does make a difference, and you should I'm proud of you, but you should be have a lot to be proud of what you've been able to accomplish in that time. So thank you. Thank you. And so I have this. We'll do photos later, but thank you. Thank you.
Do any board members have comments or questions? Sorry, it was on the script. I had to say it. Okay, so we'll move on to our next item, which is 24. No,
What if we want to have make comment?
no, 25 dash OC 0653 Library of Things. Is there a staff presentation?
Yes, there is a staff presentation and congratulations. I am your Adult Services Supervising Librarian, Shaughnessy Dunkley, talking to you about our Library of Things. I'm going to do a brief overview and then tell you a little bit more about it. So here we go. Hopefully it's turned on, I promise. There we go. So this is Nick and Lily showing off our brand new Children's Library of Things. I guess not brand new. It came out in December. But briefly, I'll be giving an overview, a little bit of our history, and some details about the collection. And then the more important things, which are the goals, impact, and future plans. So I'm very excited. This is one of my favorite things about the library is the Library of Things. You may recognize these two little tricksters from Dr. Seuss. This is not about the Library of Things. It's not this kind of thing. Instead, I am going to ask Board Member Hugh to take a look. I've got show and tell. Yes. So this is the kind of thing that we have. This is an automobile repair kit. So we have metric and SAE metric keys, hex keys. We also have a mallet and we have some other things. So you can see that this is the kind of thing that brings people to the library. So this is something that you can check out for 3 weeks with your library card, and you can use it to work on your car or any other sort of things that you could use with a mallet. I mean, that's legal. But it's really great. So we have a number of things. The auto repair toolkit obviously goes into the home improvement and auto area. For arts and crafts, we have sewing machines, a 3D pen, a ukulele kit, which is very popular. For electronics and devices, we have digital film scanners, travel power adapters, and hotspots. For fun and games, we have lots of board games, a bocce ball set, a D&D kit, and a karaoke kit. And then for home improvement and auto, we have an auto repair kit, some moisture meters, thermal cameras, which actually we're going to repurpose in October for ghost hunting kits. I'm very excited about this. For kitchen and cooking, we have canning kits, cake pans, including my favorite, a dinosaur cake pan. I would have brought that, except it's checked out, so sorry. We also have induction cooktops that we got through a partnership with ESD. For literacy and learning, right now it's mostly children's items. So we have a robot dog, story time to go to kits, and some digital launch pads, which are also good for kids to learn. And then outdoors and gardening, we have bike racks. So if you don't have a bike rack and you want to take a jaunt over to the coast with your bikes, you can borrow one from us. So you have bike racks, camping chairs, bird watching kits, and park passes. So we have a whole heck of a lot of stuff with things. So when I say what is a thing, I can't really say what a thing is. It's a lot of things. So that's what we've got. So first of all, we started with the pilot with induction cooktops and Wi-Fi hotspots. ESD gave us started with 15 induction cooktops in March of 2021. And we didn't know how this was going to go because they were magical. You get to cook with magnetics. So we got our cooktops and they were crazy popular. They continue to be crazy popular. So we started that and ESD started that or gave us the items to start with. We also piloted Wi-Fi hotspots, which have also turned out to be an incredibly popular collection. We started with the Friends, so thank you, Friends of the Library, for supporting that pilot project. We started with 7 and we now have over 70, including those bundled with Chromebooks. During COVID, we added some Chromebooks and other Wi-Fi hotspots because we knew that that was something that people were looking to do. People come to the library to use the computers, and we didn't have that option for them. So we said, okay, we're going to bring the library to you, and so you can use Chromebooks and Wi-Fi. A couple of years ago, actually year before last, we got some sustainability grants from the California State Library, Pacific Library Partnership, and the Friends got an urgent grant and from Santa Clara County. And so we had over $45,000 in grant funding for Library of Things items. And that's where, this is why we've been bolstered so much with their funding, because those people believed in Library of Things. And finally, we're going to keep growing. We have dedicated funds in the library budget in order to keep growing the collection. And the Friends of the Library have also pledged money to assist us in continuing to grow the collection, which is just wonderful. All right, so a few details about the collection. We can't buy everything, unfortunately or fortunately. We don't have a place to hold it, first of all. But we do consider suggestions from the public, as well as we kind of look at what has performed well in the past. So if we have lines of items or people that are long hold lines, then we add more, say, sewing machines, because that's one of our things. So we will be adding more sewing machines. We also need to consider safety. We have had people that would like us to buy rotary saws and other things that could potentially lob off a limb. So we have decided that we were going to be more careful about what we were going to be buying, as well as waivers for things that are dangerous. As I mentioned, our funding came from a variety of sources. We have 220 unique items, so that is a lot of things. That also includes board games. And then overall, we have 571 things. So that includes multiples of sewing machines, parks passes, things like that. So for this last fiscal year, as of early May, our top circulating items for adults were the California State Parks Pass, the Wi-Fi hotspot, and the Chromebook. It's probably not fair because we have 75 copies of the California State Parks Pass. So those are often available for people to circulate. And what that is that that's a partnership between the state and the California State Parks Department. And they've given us little hang tags so that people can park for free at California State Parks. Our Wi-Fi hotspots, we have over the numbers that I gave you before. It's a lot. But they're very popular. Because the Children's Library of Things started in December, these numbers here are not, that's why there's an asterisk there, is because while Storytime to Go kits have been the most popular in terms of circulation, I'm pretty sure Robot Dog is going to be taking that over soon. I mean, everyone loves the Robot Dog. So the Storytime to Go kits were something that also started during COVID, and it's a kit that's based on a theme. So sensory opposites, things that go. You get 3 books, song lyrics, a magnet story, and then a learning toy or a musical book, so that you have a lot of things you can do your own story time. Instead of coming to the library, you can bring it home and do it yourself. All right. So one of the things that I was really pleased to see is that we are in congruence with a number of the council priorities. With being a responsive government agency or a department, we really want to make sure that we're responsive to what the people want. So we ask for suggestions, we do surveys and look for what people want. So we're responding to what people want. We also like to welcome people. And so we want people to feel like they're members of the community. So not only with the suggestions that they provide, but I'm going to spoil it a little bit. For things like sewing, we have sewing classes as well. So I'm excited to tell you guys about that. And then finally, as a sustainable city, we are excited because using things means that that's something that doesn't get thrown in the landfill after a one-time use, and it's something that can be spread out throughout the community. So yeah, we're really excited to be part of the priorities and in line with the priorities. Okay, so this is my story. I love this woman. So she was new to the sewing lab, and she kept recording herself to share herself with her friends so she could show her friends that she was using the sewing machine. She asked the librarian that was there to take a picture of her holding the sewing machine towards the end to, quote, show my kids I can still learn a new skill at my old age. She said she was so happy to use the machine again and kept saying how much fun she was having. Quote, I haven't touched a sewing machine in over 42 years and was able to finish 3 projects today. And that is what we do this for. That's one of the many reasons, but it's wonderful to see that we make a difference. So our goals are accessibility, getting things to people that might not have them, sustainability to making sure that rarely used items can be shared amongst the community, creativity, allowing people to hone their creativity through arts, exploration or play. I think this is not done enough by adults. So this is probably my favorite one. I love letting people try before they buy. And then it's literal explorations. If they have the hiking backpack or park passes, it's literal exploration. And then finally, lifelong learning. You get to see everybody learning, and it's wonderful. And then our partnerships, we continue to have our partnerships with the Environmental Services Division of the city, the California State Parks, as well as a number of other nonprofit organizations and other government organizations throughout the county and throughout the state. All right, so one of the things that we do, I don't know if you can see this, but this is our liaison to SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And he is showing, I don't know, it's hard to see, but he has some of our telescopes out there, which we are part of our library of things. And we did a SETI sort of try to find Venus in the sky in September. So he gave us not only did he provide a program and give us a lecture, he is also telling people how to use the telescopes, which is something that it's like really great that you can have this really big guy be able to tell you all these exciting things. Anyway, so that's one of the ways that we use our Library of Things items to be able to show people what's possible. We used some of our telescopes for eclipse days last year. For Earth Day, we brought out some of our games. And then we also have some board games for the brand new Level Up at Your Library summer reading program. Yay! So for summer reading, which started yesterday, we had a board game afternoon, and we'll be continuing that through the summer for summer reading. Okay, one other thing, one other story that I wanted to mention and to bring up is to note that all of these people here also have their own little story of how the Library of Things have impacted them. One other sewing related one that I was really excited about was there was a woman who brought her sewing machine from the 1960s into Sewing Lab. And the librarian there has tinkered with sewing machines a bit. They were able to get it working. She has a daycare business and started making fitted sheets for toddler beds. And I think it's so cool to be able to see this ability to have such an entrepreneurial spirit, small business spirit, in order to like just grow and keep building things. So I just think it's wonderful. And so I'm excited about our Library of Things. All right. Our future plans. So we had a survey with our community in March. And the community survey results were asking, what do you want to see us purchase? What do you want more of? What do you think we should do less of? And the results were, everyone wants more of everything. So that's not a surprise. Right now, we're prioritizing getting those hold ratios down, mostly for high interest items like the sewing machines and sergers. We are also building more partnerships. We are working with FABMO and Don Edwards National Wildlife Refuge. FABMO for sustainable sewing things. Don Edwards, we have family binocular birdwatching kits, so people can use those and go to our bird watching. We are also a member of a nationwide library-centered working group that supports tool libraries and libraries of things. And it's really great. And it's also, yeah, no, it's just really great because I get all these great ideas. Like, oh, we should do this. Oh, there's an electronic translator. Maybe we should go get that. So it's really good to get lots of good ideas. Obviously, youth items are some of our most popular and powerful, so we're going to be growing that as well. We will continue to focus on sustainability because that's a big part of what we're doing this for. ESD was recently awarded a grant to work with us, and we will be getting solar panel backpacks that you can put a charger in and you can take that and go camping with it. So you put the solar panels on your backpack, you trundle around, and in the meanwhile, your charger is getting charged by the sun, which is great. Finally, we are trying to have the synergy with the Lakewood Branch Makerspace. So we want people to be able to take what they learned from a library of thing and bring it to the makerspace or vice versa. So it's going to be a lot of fun, actually. I'm so excited. The Lakewood Branch Makerspace is going to have things like a steam press and other items that are for just, maker projects. And so we're hoping that people can learn maybe some smaller skills when they check out a library of things and then apply it at the makerspace. And that is my note on the library of things. That is the famous robot dog, and it is so adorable. Does anybody have any questions?
Can adults check out the robot dog?
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Thank you.
Yes.
Everyone's asking. That wasn't me. Do any board members have comments or questions for staff? I know Carter loves, board member who loves the library of things. So we're going to start with him. He's the biggest fan.
Perfect. Yeah, I just remember when not too long ago, had my interview with council and they were asking me about questions and what I was most interested in. And I said right off the bat, it's definitely the Library of Things. So seeing the progress that's been made, more items, the amount of circulation that these are getting, from the hotspots to the park passes, which I think are so great. This is what I think it's all about. I mean, not all about because there's so much more, right? But yeah, big fan. Something that you highlighted in your presentation that I was really thrilled with was the community events aspect of the Library of Things. I think that oftentimes, when people sort of like traditionally think about a library is a place where you go and you read books, and that's kind of a solitary activity from time to time. And when we have our story times for the kids, that's great, right? They're able to interact in the community and sort of bringing that to adults, right? With the the sewing classes and things of that nature. And personally, that's something that I'd really like to see expanded, right? And I think we have a really great opportunity to do that. And this isn't just library now, but since we do recreation is also under the same roof, they do kind of go hand in hand. So we were talking about synergy just now with the makerspace at the Lakewood branch, and I think that will be really exciting to see as that expands. And I already touched on the possibility or the potential of the Lakewood branch and the sort of cross-pollination of learning a skill and then you know at the makerspace or a class there and then going home and doing something, and as we said, vice versa. But I did kind of want to ask about some of the limitations with our current facility, right? Could you sort of just talk us through, right? What could we do now if we just had the space? Because I think that the community, they see all this good stuff happening and there could be even more, right? And not to sort of get anyone sad or upset about things that we don't have, but just to sort of understand, like, what could we do? Because I think that's something that can really get people excited about the possibilities and, get people interested in supporting the library.
Thank you. There's a lot that we have the potential for doing. Currently, our sewing lab is limited to about 10 people at tops. If we had a makerspace, we could probably put more people in there. One thing that we're excited about for Lakewood is looking at a laser cutter. If we could put that at Maine, I know it would get a lot of use. That would be amazing. We had considered, if we had some space, it would be nice to do not a costuming workshop necessarily, but a place where people could create costumes and for cosplaying. That was something that we've kind of thrown around as well. So having more space would allow us, not to say that we couldn't do those things, it's just kind of a do-si-do with trying to get things going in the space. I hope that makes sense.
Totally, it does, and just hearing about and seeing, because it's not just our library, and as you said, right, there's a whole network of folks that do have their own library of things, and they're all a little bit different because, it's a, I think, relatively new phenomenon in the grand scheme of, libraries, public libraries. So. Yeah, all of those sound really exciting. And, I'm just thinking about, oh, wow, how can this sort of interact with some of the community plays that happen at the community center, right? Those costumes are relevant for that too. And all of these different ways that really our library can help build community, which I think is so, 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 so important. And yeah, wow. Thank you so much for the presentation.
My pleasure.
Board Member Giacondo.
Thank you so much for the very, very interesting presentation. It's one thing, two things, and many things, actually. I'm very impressed with, I like the story of the lady. It's pretty inspiring, especially for older adults who might not actually think of exploring and continue learning. So she does, presenting that is an encouragement for a lot of adults who want to continue exploring and learning. So I like the thought behind it. I just have a clarifying question. So the sewing lessons, it's 10 per. So how does that work? Do you have lessons as such now, or?
So that's a great question.
Yeah.
So on Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, we have a couple of hours at the end of the night and the beginning of the morning that's sewing lab. So it's not bespoke lessons so much as it's people learning, like we can help them learn how to sew a bag or how to not be afraid of a sewing machine. So we start there. We actually are currently speaking to someone who will hopefully next year, in the next fiscal year, be able to do an actual sewing program so that we can get a class of 10 to 12 people all working on the same project, like a bag or flannel pajama pants. A simple project that people at the end of 2 or 3 hours could go home with a project. So right now it's just kind of one-on-one. We're helping you learn how to sew, but we are looking forward to having more community members together and doing programs.
I think that would be a great idea.
I'll just add that another thing that I find really powerful about programs like Sewing Lab is just the opportunity to bring people together that may have varying levels of expertise and interest in that too. So especially with crafts and sewing, it seems like kind of the nature of that community that they love to share what they know and bring new people in as they're interested. So I think it's a wonderful place for somebody who's maybe just trying to figure out how to get started and be able to connect and talk to people who have been doing this for many years and just love the social aspect of being able to share their passion and hobby with others. And again, that's just kind of what we're all about, right? Bringing people in our community together to share their common interests.
Wonderful. And I must also add that there are a lot of young men and women who actually love sewing and they want to, they're always exploring on those lines. So I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Board Member Hode. I've got more questions about sewing.
I'm just sort of wondering about the logistics, because so we have 10 sewing machines that like stay at the library for the lab. And in addition to that, we have more sewing
That's
machines that
correct.
get loaned out. So it's not the same machines that are going out as the ones that are being.
That
used
is
for the lab.
correct.
Okay, that's just, I want to clarify. And then just, so I'm gonna go back and say like, yeah, library things is great. I had, like, I know some of you know, I'm actually a librarian and I worked in a library overseas for many years and it never heard of a library of things. And then when I came here and I went back to school, and one of the projects I had to go like do a study on a specific library, and I actually did it on Oakland and Oakland Public, and they have a tool library, which is the first time I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Why doesn't everybody have this? So yeah, so just, and I think, and I was just like wondering when you talk about partnerships, like, do we do interlibrary loan with stuff as we do with books?
Right now, we're not set up for that.
Mm-hmm.
However, the group that I was talking about with the library of things,
Mm-hmm.
they have a method. Many of them are on the East Coast, so they have a method for saying, hey, this particular thing is no longer circulating at my library. Does anybody want it? And then they just transfer it over. So we don't have anything like that on the West Coast yet. But that is something that my colleagues and I have been talking about, and that would be a really cool thing to do.
And do we not have it because there aren't as many libraries on the West Coast that have libraries of things, or we're just not something that's happened yet?
I think it's more that the logistics of trying to get things from one to another and trying to figure out who has circulating things and who doesn't. Because it is still relatively new, we're all still trying to figure out if this is going to circulate for us or not.
Okay, that makes sense.
Can I,
And then,
can I just add something to that too? We are also very careful on how we curate this collection. And safety is really important to us, hence the waiver. And we want to make sure that anything that we check out is in really good shape. So to start loaning them around and not knowing what we're getting from another library who might not take as stringent precautions as we do, I'd be very, very cautious about allowing that. And for the same reason to take hand-me-downs.
right.
You know, we do have people who say, oh, I have a blah, blah, blah at home. I can loan it, I can give it to you. And, you know, it's one thing if it's a cookie cutter, it's another thing if it's some electronic equipment or anything like that. So we are trying to be very careful and sensitive to safety issues.
And that actually leads right into my next question, which I think we talked about briefly offline at one point about having people donate stuff to the Library of Things. And I totally understand. And you don't want somebody to say, oh, I have this iPad that I'm not, using, but then it's like a first generation iPad that like nothing can actually be loaded on. So like,
Right.
what are you gonna, it's a doorstop. It's not, it's, but there are other things where like, like a game that like my kids got as a gift and never played and has been sitting on a shelf in my house and all the pieces are there and it's then, that's the kind of thing where also like I know people donate puzzles, which I don't, as far as I know, you don't even like, I mean, they just get loaned out without any being
That's
checked
correct.
out. So
Yep.
like, but like, so games, maybe some board games, like, okay, they're not in pristine condition, so, but maybe we could put them with the puzzle collection as things that people could borrow and it won't be terrible if they don't come back kind of thing.
It's an interesting idea. I had, that's the first time I've heard of doing the board games like an honor system.
Mhm.
I would like to think about that because I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank
'Cause
you.
I'm even thinking like camping chairs, like that's the kind of thing you take one look at it, you could see if it's in good shape. If it's in bad shape, no, you tell the person, no, we don't want that put in the garbage. But if it's in good shape, why not? Because maybe somebody bought a camping chair and then went camping once and never used their camping chair again, and I know I have plenty of stuff like that in my house. So that's just an idea.
Thank you.
And then one more thing is, so you talked about those kits, the storytime kits for the kids, which is great. And kind of wish I had something like that when my kids were younger. But what about like book club kits for adults? Cause like I know Palo Alto Public does that, where you get like a certain number of copies and questions and like a whole thing for, and like, here's for your book club and you're set to go.
That is something that we had considered. Right now, it's difficult to find the space. And my worry, I've done it in other libraries, and my worry is that everyone wants to read a certain book all at once, and then all of a sudden it's
Nobody wants to read that
right.
book.
So that's my only concern about it. I've been talking with my staff to say, what do you guys think? So, I think that's something that we should probably ask as a specific question on our survey, going forward. So,
And you could do, I mean, I'm thinking like even like a hybrid thing where you could do, because some of the books, you wouldn't have to have the whole thing wouldn't have to be physical books. Some of them could be ebooks.
Yep.
Some of them could be audiobooks because different readers, different needs.
for sure.
And then just have the kit, which would have like maybe a few copies and then like questions. And I mean, I have a group of friends, we do a book club with a dinner where we like make dinner on the theme of the book. So you could have like food ideas for your book club.
So we get to put recipes in there too.
I have a friend who does a cookbook club where they all take one cookbook and make a recipe out of it. So you can do all sorts of like ideas like that.
It's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you bring up some really interesting ideas about, ways that we can support communities of readers in our, city, that go beyond just supplying the books itself, which seems really obvious and very traditional from a library. But yeah, I think you raised some really interesting and novel ideas about, what are other ways, the theme of this, I think the whole library of things is really surprising people about what's possible. Right, when the library, connects with and identifies with the things that people in our community really need and want, and how we can provide those things in really interesting and unique ways. And I think that that's just another way that we can connect with and support our communities of readers.
Thank you.
Board Member Liu?
Thanks for the presentation, Chauncey. Really well done and great to see the library things grow and the momentum continuing. I've heard that the Sunnyvale library systems, library of things is very unique and differentiated versus the neighbor city library system. So love what you and team are doing. Just wanted to add a comment on something that I think you and the rest of the staff are already thinking about. Garrett touched on it as well, just engagement. For me, like top of mind is visibility. I love to continue to learn about the library of things, and in my head, the gears are churning on like how do we get additional visibility to those residents that don't engage with the library in a way that like we do through books or some, like how can we hook them with some of these things and become just have them be more involved as a community through the library system. So food for thought. I know you guys probably have a lot of ideas ready. Continue to keep doing what you guys are doing because you're doing a great job at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got a couple of things.
Wonderful.
So when obviously I love the library of things. I pretty much have a hold on everything because I have to try everything. So that's why the list is so long. That's fair.
You need to step down from chair so you'll have time.
It's time to try them all. I know what the wait list is on every single item, but so my question is when you talk about the library of things and how we think about buying, what it's there for, the sustainability makes a lot of sense to me. I'm only going to use the item once. It makes sense. Borrow it. I want to try it before I buy it, kind of thing. The other thing that kind of makes me think sometimes is sometimes there are different activities that have a really high barrier to entry.
Yep.
That usually because it's expensive and yes, like the telescopes, but also I'm thinking specifically for younger children, the idea of what can we introduce children to earlier that they might spark something. And the thing that just came to mind for me was art supplies. A lot of art supply, and again, it's difficult because you use up supplies and then we're replenishing. But I was thinking about when my daughter was in high school and she took her first art class and she was introduced to all these different things like linoleum something. I don't know what it was, but like it was all these supplies that they had at school that she had never ever thought about. And then she took me to the art store and I was like, that is so expensive. I don't know how dedicated you are, but like, right, like there were so many supplies they had at school. And again, I don't know what the right answer is, but it made me think, what other activities are out there that there's a high barrier to entry, that there's so many talented people out there who just never knew, because kind of like with sewing, but for younger.
Yeah, and
people.
I think that's really an important question for us to be asking. How can we support and inspire our kiddos?
Even something like watercolors, which is,
Yep.
or acrylics, things that, you wouldn't think necessarily to buy because we don't have that expertise. But anyway, that was one idea. Another question I had, and I brought this up before, and I know logistically it's very, very difficult, but we have items like the giant Jenga, right? And the giant Connect Four, whatever those are, which tend to be used, I would imagine, for large gatherings and large groups. And again, I know logistically it's hard. I'm just going to throw it out there because I'm leaving, but so you guys can figure it out. But it's for me, for certain items, is there a different way to put a hold on them so that I know I have a family reunion picnic in the park on, the 4th weekend of July?
Mhm.
I would love to have the item then. Because putting it for items like that, not knowing when you're going to get it doesn't really work for that kind of an
Right,
item.
right.
I don't know how it would work logistically. I think it's a nightmare. But it seems like there are certain items in our library that are more conducive to that kind of use. Like if for the robot dog, I'm going to take it whenever I can get it and I'm going to play with it. But the giant Jenga, I'm only going to play with when I have people with me.
Right.
And they're not always there. So again, I don't know what the answer is, but I think it's something just kind of to have in the back of your head to think about logistically, how might that work?
Yeah, there are other libraries. I know Sacramento Public is one of them that are libraries who do it by a time frame as opposed to whenever you place it on hold.
Mhm.
There are some weird things in the back end that would be like, what if it doesn't get returned on time? What if it never gets returned? So there are some things in the back end, but that is something that, again, there have been discussions between my team and I to see what we might, if there's anything we can do, and it might be interesting to split the difference between having all of the items be on a time frame versus a hold system. It might be interesting to, I'm sorry, my technical services manager is going to kill me hearing me say that.
We're not
Uh,
sure. It's my new
But,
philosophy.
but it's an interesting idea, and I not doing it all or nothing, I think is what's most interesting to me. So thank you for suggesting that.
Yeah, I'm gonna add as a technical service person, I think it's a great idea, and I'm thinking like things like the park passes and the museum passes, if you could do those too, because I know I've like, oh, we're going this weekend, oh, but it's too late because they've been lent out already, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
I would help your technical services team come up with ideas, volunteer my time.
We want them to stay employed. And then I have one other thing. I'm just going to preface this by saying I'm not upset. I'm going to bring this up. I wasn't upset. I'm not bringing this up because I'm angry. I'm just curious how it works.
Sure.
So like I mentioned, I have a hold on pretty much everything. I received an email and the timing was just perfect because I received an email yesterday that said that a hold I had for a very high demand item was canceled.
Yes,
You know what it
I know
was?
exactly what item you're talking about.
And I was just confused.
Right.
And it was fine because I'm not ever expecting to get it, but I did the math. There's a 3-year wait.
So that particular item, if it's the Cricut,
It is.
I thought it might be. That is actually something that we are, I actually am placing an order tomorrow to get more Cricut kits together.
So I'm not concerned about the wait time.
Right.
I was more interested in, it said that it wasn't filled within my stated time frame or within 4 months of the original request.
Mhm.
And so then I went onto my account and I said, oh, well, where do I set my time frame? And I couldn't find it. So one question was, where do I set it? Where do I find it? And a 4-month hold for Library of Things items, for some of them, seems very short. Because even, I mean, you know this, the sewing machines, which I don't have a hold on, because I have my own, that's still like a 2.5-year wait, if I do my math correctly.
Okay.
And so I'm not upset because I wasn't really ever expecting to get it, but then I put myself back on the wait list because I could. And so I was just curious.
Yeah, no,
I was just curious.
that's a good point. I'm not actually sure on the time frame. I'm not sure how that's
Okay.
set up. I think that's a back end thing, but I am not positive.
Yeah, we'll investigate, these particular situations. Our integrated library system, that actually stores all the records for these things. It's very common for there to be a mandatory start and end time just in the system when you place the hold. It's often invisible to the patron, but it exists in the back end, and it's basically designed to allow so that you don't have holds that sort of last forever in case of situations, for example, when an item, maybe an item, the last copy gets lost or something like that. And then because some systems rely on sort of an automated process to take those items out of the system. But sometimes outstanding holds that are not fulfilled can then interfere with those, and they kind of just gum up the process and create sort of just a mess that staff have to deal with manually, and not to get in the weeds. But oftentimes that is the case, that there is a mandatory date that has to be set that's not visible. I think what we'll investigate here is whether whether there's any opportunity for us to adjust those dates, considering what the type of item is. As you point out, because of the long hold lines for library things items, it's something that maybe we need to look at and see, can we artificially or arbitrarily create a longer time frame than what's by default. I think this is an example of one of those things where the newness of this kind of collection to us and how it behaves very differently from the books that we've tended to to be our bread and butter in the past raises some of these issues that we sometimes face for the first time. Right, this has never been an issue before because we've never had lines this long, for these items. So, the message then that got delivered to the patron is something we'd actually never seen before, because this situation has literally never come up in our history, so until it does, and then we say, boy, that's something we need to look and see, how do we customize those things. And so this is a learning process for us too, but we will investigate and find out what we can do to make that more clear and to adjust it.
I know that when you put a hold on a book, it does ask you, if you don't, do you need it by a certain date?
Right.
And then because I know, I just did that recently, and I knew that if I didn't have it by a certain date, then I didn't
Yeah.
want it. And then, if it's not available by this date, then just, cancel my hold. So for the books, it does ask you for a date. And I'm wondering if for the things, if it doesn't ask, and then it's just in there, probably.
Yeah, that's
the
very
system
common,
requires it.
especially in university settings,
Yeah.
because it's super common in universities where you're a student, and they all, in fact, sometimes they actually set an arbitrary date of the end of the semester or whatnot, because the library wants to basically purge all outstanding holds at the end of the school year, because they know the students don't need it anymore, and again, they don't want to start the next year with outstanding holds. That waste everyone's time. So again, this is kind of why these systems are in place that are often a little bit invisible to the patrons, or something that we don't use often in the public library setting, but it's often built into our backends.
Thanks. That makes a lot of sense. I just got the email. I'm like, oh, look at the timing. I love it. And one of my last things, I don't know if you were here, I think it was a couple meetings ago. I mentioned that I was at doing something else, and somebody I had just mentioned to me on their own, did you know Sunnyvale has a library of things? And she's from Los Altos, and she was like, oh, my libraries don't have it. I have to go to Sunnyvale. And it was just, and I looked at her, I said, do I know that the city has a library of things? Let me talk to you about it. But I think it's fabulous. And the fact that people in neighboring cities know about our library of things and are trying to talk to their libraries about, like, hey, did you know Sunnyvale has this? I think it's fabulous. Like, we want to be that city. So, yeah.
I don't remember hearing that previously, but thank you for sharing that. I am going to share that with my folks, and they're going to be so pleased. So thank you.
It was the best conversation I had all night. Board member?
I just had one more question. So, Charlene, if you're done or otherwise, okay. I did want to ask a little bit about the Wi-Fi hotspots, because I recall that it was a little bit unclear if we were going to have the funding for that, if we weren't going to have the funding for that. And, it seems like they continue to be popular items, and just wanted to know. I just thought of that.
Yes, we are planning on continuing. I know that there are other neighboring jurisdictions that had their funds. They no longer have the funds to do that, but we will continue. We believe it's an important thing to have for accessibility, at the very least. People need to be able to. The internet is pretty much a utility at this point, and so we do think it's important to be able to provide that. We will continue to do so.
Okay, that's very good to hear. I'm just recalling the staff presentation from 1 or 2 meetings ago where we saw, the zones where, there wasn't all that much access to internet, and yeah, making sure that they're served with this vital resource. And then, I was also reminded a little bit of um, the sort of geofencing, or I don't know what exactly we call it, the term for folks that, heard about us online and then were like signing up for credit cards, or not, excuse me, might as well be, but they're racking up our credit card. But for our library cards, and maybe something similar could be employed for the Wi-Fi hotspots to make sure that, it's staying within the community, and especially in those areas. But okay, that's very good to hear.
Could I just add something to that? There has been a lot of scuttlebutt at the federal level about eliminating E-rate, teleconnect funds, and we do get a very deep discount on our Wi-Fi hotspots connectivity. So if that goes away, we're going to have to really think about how we check these out and how we sustain that collection. Because we're paying probably, 10 cents on the dollar or something like
That's about
that
right.
for our
Yeah.
connection, for that broadband access on each hotspot. And if that deep discount goes away, it's going to be very hard collection for us to maintain.
No, thank you for that.
So good point about keeping it internally.
Yep.
That's good to know. I
Mhm.
mean, everything Library of Things, and especially the ones for me where it's, community, I think that's a big thing for me, and especially the accessibility piece. So yeah, thank you again.
Can I ask a follow-up question on that topic? Which, not the hotspots, but I remember a few meetings ago, you mentioned that the park passes might also be affected by this funding.
They probably will be at
So-
some point. They're good through 2026.
November,
June?
no, or I think June of 26.
June of 26 for now. But as the state of California tries to Band-Aid the loss of federal government funds, a lot of these programs are getting cut. So the state library is not immune from that. They are looking at probably a 50% discount, 50% cut in their funding. So they will have to make some decisions on what they push through.
The parks passes themselves that we get for free, we have 70 something for free. They normally go for $120 each per year. So we could not do that many at that cost.
Fingers crossed. Thank you. Shaughnessy, thank you so much for your presentation.
It is my pleasure. I love reporting to you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move on to oral communications. This is now the public's opportunity to address the board on topics not listed on tonight's agenda and presentation items. The section is limited to 15 minutes and may be extended or continued after the public hearing's general business section of the meeting. Individuals may only speak once during oral communications. This board meeting is a limited public forum, and the board can regulate the time, place, and manner of speech. Speaker comments during oral communications must be limited to matters within the board's authority, which is known as the board's subject matter jurisdiction. If a speaker's comments are outside the board's subject matter jurisdiction, the presiding officer will rule the speaker out of order. This allows the board to conduct its business in a reasonably efficient manner and protects the rights of other speakers. A speaker will not be ruled out of order because of disagreement with the content of their speech. Please submit a speaker card to the recording officer, raise your digital hand now, or dial *9 on a telephone to indicate you wish to speak. I will call on members of the public participating in person first, followed by remote participants. Speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. Do we have anyone wanting to speak under oral communications?
We have no one online or in person wishing to speak at this time.
Thank you. I'll close oral communications. I'll go ahead and open public comment on consent calendar items. Please submit a speaker card to the recording officer, raise your digital hand now, or dial *9 on a telephone to indicate you wish to speak. I will call on members of the public participating in person first, followed by remote participants. Speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. Do we have anyone wanting to speak?
We have nobody in person or online wishing to speak at this time.
Thank you. I'll close public comment. I'll now ask for a motion from my colleagues to approve the consent calendar item of the Board of Library Trustees meeting minutes of May 20th, 2025.
I'd like to move to approve the Board of Library Trustee meeting minutes of May 20th, 2025.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Is there discussion or advocacy on the motion? Recording officer, please conduct a roll call vote.
Chair Wang,
Yes.
Vice Chair Gitakonda,
Yes.
Board Member Hugh,
Yes.
Board Member Han,
Yes.
Board Member Liu.
Yes.
The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. The next portion of the agenda is for oral reports and announcements by board members and staff to share information. Do board members have any non-agenda items or comments? Nothing? I guess not. I'll just say, this, I'm gonna talk. This is my last meeting, as Mayor Klein said, and it's been an honor and a privilege to do this. I started pre-COVID, when we used to meet over in the library community room, and you know, that was our little space, and then you forced us over here when COVID started. But it's, you know, it's been an experience. It's been really just a wonderful opportunity. I've met the best people. I love the library staff and everything the library does. Keep doing it, and I will come and see you when I have items that are off hold at the Library of Things. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. Does staff have any non-agenda items or comments?
Yes. Summer reading has started as of yesterday. So we are currently in Level Up at Your Library, our 2025 summer reading program. I want to give you a special invitation to the summer reading kickoff event, which is next Saturday, June 14th, from 11 to 1. Highlights include at 11 o'clock, story time with Princess Peach for kids. Scavenger hunts, crafts and activities, and board games for scavenger hunt and crafts and activities for kids going on throughout the day, and then board games for teens also going on throughout the day. Lest you think that adults are left out of this fun, they are not. The very next day, on Sunday, June 15th, we encourage you to join us for adult paint night, although it's really in the afternoon because it's at 2 o'clock on the 15th. For Super Mario scene. We will be painting a scene from the game Super Mario Brothers. Woohoo! I'd also like to say, give another thank you from on behalf of all of the staff at the library for your service, Chair Wong. It's been a real pleasure to have you leading this group. You know, such a cohesive and united group in support and advocacy for what we do at the library. It truly is not possible for us to do the work that we do without the support and voice from members in the community like yourself, as well as all the other board members. But special congratulations and thank you to you.
Right, thank you. Okay. So with that, the meeting is adjourned at 7:58, and I'd like to thank everyone for your participation in tonight's meeting.